if you understand how exciting this is, because the person who's going to be speaking is such a friend to everybody in this community. He's been around for a long time. He's been an advocate for HDYO. He's been an advocate for so many associations, for research, and for all of you. Please give it up to our dear, dear friend, Jimmy Pollard.
Okay, so last year on May 9th, I got an email from Jenna, and it said, I'm wondering if you'd consider speaking at the HDYO Congress in Prague. You could close out the event with a message of being empowered. I was really excited because I had never done an HDYO thing. But I know many of you, so I was really, really excited. But the problem was that was 311 days ago. So I had 311 days to absolutely have this gnawing anxiety and apprehension about how this would go. You know, right, Nicola? Like we were talking about. So I just was a nervous wreck on something. I mean, if I got a talk to look ahead to, I'm totally compulsively have to worry about this every day. So I went to a friend and said, I'm a nervous wreck. And she said, you got this. So I went to another friend, some of you know, Asun, and she said, tienes esto. And I went to another friend, and she said something like, tu consegres. So, for those of you who don't know what you got this means, kind of as an expression, because I know you're from all over the world, it's just simply American English, not the British stuff. That simply says, you can do this. You'll succeed. We got it. I have faith in you. I believe in you, that kind of stuff. Of course you'll get it. So that's, you got this. So, here I am. And the title is Empowerment Through Gratitude. Kind of nebulous, but we're going to see what we can do with this. So, really, I've always liked to talk, in all my talks lately, about three things: Huntington's, humanity, and hope. So that's what we're going to talk about. First of all, Huntington's. I just want to spend the beginning of this about some of our story. Your story, our story, what has brought us here, and put it in a broader perspective. Jenna just said we need bigger numbers for bigger change and bigger outcomes. And I think some of it is seeing this as close as you are involved in research in your lives in a much broader context, like the 30,000-foot view. So I want to talk about our story through my eyes. So I'm going to be your guide. So this is biased by me. Okay? And I just want to point out, as we quickly go through some things, some key points and lessons learned along the way. Because the old expression, if you don't know where you started, you're lost. If you don't know where you began the journey, you're lost, man. So that's what we're going to do. So we begin in the United States, where I'm from, Lowell, Massachusetts. Although I must say that my grandfather came from County Antrim, Randallstown, Northern Ireland. Okay. That's just a gratuitous, thing. Anyway, so we begin the story in New York, in the USA, and this is way back in the 1850s, and there's a family of doctors. More than two, but the two most noteworthy are George Lee Huntington and George Huntington, and there's George. And George, put me back, drove around in a little horse and buggy doing, and I know you're all too young to remember this, but doctors used to visit you in the United States in your home. And I know many countries don't have that luxury, but they did. So George would drive around in a little horse and buggy with his dad. And he recalled later in life that when he was a little boy, he wrote this: driving with my father through the wooded road leading from East Hampton to Amagansett, New York, we suddenly came upon two women, mother and daughter, both tall, thin, bowing, twisting, grimacing. I stared in wonderment. What could it mean? It made a most enduring impression upon my boyish mind. George then graduated medical school. But that memory of him as a little kid stayed with him, and it was really a bond between him and the families living with Huntington's disease, or they didn't call it that yet. We're going to get to that. It stuck with him as a child, because I know you know how things like that stick with you as a child. So it sticks with him as a child, and gets out of medical school, and he publishes this paper. Now, we're not talking about like a big research article here. This is kind of a newsletter thing. It wasn't really a medical journal. It was like a newsletter. And he just does this review thing called On Korea, and on the tail end of it, he tacks on like 6 paragraphs that talk about those families, him and his dad and his other uncle, who was a physician, noticed in these families in East Hampton. So he graduates, he publishes this, and the last line, and I just want to point this out, the last sentence, actually, of the article is, I have drawn your attention to this form of chorea. Gentlemen, there's no women in this. What were they thinking? Look at HD research today and note the disproportionate number of pioneering women. It's amazing. It is amazing. So I just wanted to point that out, because this is about change and how far we've really come. So, and not that I considered it of any great practical importance to you, but merely as a medical curiosity. Weird. And as such, it may have some interest. My God, what was he thinking? But how old was he when he wrote that? In 1872, 23. The point is, George was young, and he had that as a non-affected non-family. At that young age, he had that bond with those families that him and his dad and his uncle were caring for. So, in that brief part, I want you to notice 3 things. First, the partnership between families and those physicians. Enough so they carried on to him writing that kind of inconsequential paper, but caring enough to put in a little description at the end. The value of sustained observation. That's where we first see it here, and then you see it in the dating game. The power of sustained observation. And that's where we get the name. But we'll come back to that. So, why am I telling you this stuff? This is Huntington's Disease Youth Organization, and I think I'm the oldest guy in the room. It's like, what's up with that? But the timing of my birth it's weird, it's just how it's laid out, to be able to have seen, or be alive actually, when everything related to Huntington's disease happened. And by that I mean, it's all in my lifetime. But by the way, I hope I convince you that it's all happened in your lifetimes too. So it's not just because I'm the old fart here. It's happened in your lifetimes, and it's happening still. So my life is kind of like a yardstick. Everything fits in somewhere in my lifespan so far. So, for example, Watson and Crick, some of you will recognize that name. They're the guys who discovered the shape of DNA and the structure of DNA. And that Nobel Prize-winning discovery set the course for all human genetic research. Never mind HD, just everything. So this Watson and Crick, and that was 1953. Where was I in 1953 with these guys? There's me. 2 years old. So when I say everything has happened in my lifetime, everything has happened in my lifetime, going right back to the discovery. So the story continues with this woman who was a professional dancer in New York City named Marjorie Major. And she hooks up with this guy who is a folk singer, wicked political activist. Should I explain the word wicked, Seth, to these people? Yeah. Wicked in the Boston area where Seth and I come from means like very, very, very. So he's a wicked political activist and a writer. Woody Guthrie, they meet, marry, and have a family. These 3 children, that's Woody behind the sandcastle, the adult, and Woody had Huntington's disease. Woody got it from his mom. That's Woody on the left with the big straw hat, and that's his mom back up on the porch. Woody wrote later in life about being a child carer, and he wrote these words. Oh, Roy and me tried, I guess. We would take spells of working the house over, but I was only about 9 years old, Roy about 15. Other things that kids of that age do, games they play, places they go, swimming holes, playing, running, laughing. We drifted into those things just to try to forget for a minute that a cyclone had hit our home and how it was ripping and tearing away our family and scattering it into the wind. I could see my mother get worser and worser every little passing minute of all my passing years, even before I saw her get really bad enough and really loud enough for any of my next door neighbors to get wind of what she'd done, or even for my very own dad to get very wise to it all. So he told his story. Have any of you ever told your story? Yes. So Woody did it, but as a child carer. I just want to point that out. Woody walked a full HD road, and there's Marjorie behind him, and left Marjorie with 3 kids at risk. So Marjorie, who, by the way, is family. We're going to keep coming back to this. Family. Marjorie sets out to, quote, do something about Huntington's disease. That was the phrase she used. It's all over the old newsletters. So the first thing she did was go to Woody's doctor at the hospital where he died, a guy named John Whittier, and says, I want to do something about HD. What do I do? And this is a Whittier quote. Please, she implored of Dr. Whittier, educate me. I want to do something about this. Do something about. So that's the first thing of partners with physicians in research. Partnership, but local partnership. Her local doc she went to. Whittier connects her with this guy who is a Canadian named Andre Barbeau, and he's a giant in the history of Canadian neurology. He ran the World Federation of Neurology Special Interest Group, and Whittier and Marjorie approach him and say the same thing. What do we need to do? And he tells her the same thing. But the point is, the partnership now has gone from local to international. So, both Whittier and Barbeau tell her the same thing, which is simply, go find families and do research with we docs. And then you will be doing something about Huntington's disease. And so she began. She placed an ad Now, this varies country by country, but in the United States, we call them classified ads. It's like if you're selling a car, just a couple of things, it's just a couple of lines. It was like, if your family has Huntington's, please call me kind of thing. And she said, call VA 80249, and she gets 5 families to respond. So she began with those 5 families around her kitchen table in Coney Island, New York, part of New York City, and formed the Committee to Combat Huntington's Disease. The office was the extra bedroom in Marjorie's home. In 1 year, the first year, they locate 35 families. In the second year, they had 304 families, a factor of 10. Now, those things, I know some of you know what those are. We call them Rolodexes in the United States. But they're big, round file card things, and you keep addresses and phone numbers and all of that stuff. So this one was this photo's taken 5 years after they did it. So however many cards are in all those big Rolodex spinny file card things, that's how many families they had touched. It just grows. Like things in nature. They multiply, they don't add. So, while all this is going on and it's just starting, where am I? Graduating from high school. So it's relatively new. She goes out, finds more families. She meets this guy, this family, which is Milton and Lenore Wexler in Los Angeles, and their 2 daughters, Nancy and Alice. And just a private moment here. But anyway, so as it develops, Marjorie's all about care and cure and awareness and all of this stuff. Milton, on the other hand, wants to kind of focus on science. So he creates the Hereditary Disease Foundation. Now, my private moment was, it just occurred to me that when I did these slides, I didn't know that the executive director of the Hereditary Disease Foundation would be sitting right there. So anyway, that's Megan. So it exists. So Milton founds this and launches the whole science thing. Again, family. And it continues. Then they go to Toronto, where they meet this couple, Ariel and Ralph Walker. And they found the Huntington Society of Canada, but Ralph and Ariel, this was the first border crossing of the movement. Crosses up over to the United States, Canada, and they found the Huntington Society of Canada, and that was a cue for, please, HSC. And they gave us the Amaryllis. Whether you know it or not, they gave us the Amaryllis logo. Watch this. But the point is, Ralph and Ariel, family. So, more families joined. The first ocean crossing was to the UK to a woman named Maureen Jones. We have a UK person here as I'm looking at Paramjeet. And they took the Amaryllis across the Atlantic, and that was the first thing. And point is, Maureen Jones, family. Then it just grew and grew and grew, and they all took the Amaryllis from Portugal to Germany to Poland to Turkey, and it kept growing and growing and growing. Sweden and I think New Zealand and Ireland. It's Italy and Australia, Malta, all over the place. It grew so widely that 15 years in, this is from the meeting of the International Huntington's Association in Niagara Falls in 1983. Now, as I look at this, there's a couple of things that you might not see. Number one, there were no sponsors. There was nothing like scholarships. They essentially got there on their own, or their associations raised the money to send a representative. The second thing woven in there is I can see a nurse and a physical therapist, a genetic counselor who was a pioneer, by the way, back then, genetic counselors. But anyway, it kept growing. There's the international meeting 15 years in. At their own expense, it keeps growing, growing. They all take the amaryllis to Cyprus and Brazil, and I can't see that, I think Spain. So it just grows and grows. In 1972, which is 100 years, the centennial of George writing that little paper, all the stakeholders, family and docs professionals, not a lot of bench people yet, we haven't got that far, meaning neuroscience. At the 100th anniversary, they have a symposium in Ohio, and there's Nancy, the little girl in the picture, and the point is, now we have Nancy and Marjorie, family, and the doctor up there, partnership that run the meetings. And at that meeting, this guy shows up. And he is from Venezuela, in the state of Zulia State in Venezuela. His name was Ramon Giron. Am I saying that correct? Avila Giron. And he shows a grainy black and white 8mm film of a whole bunch of affected families, meaning chorea, movement disorder, obviously, on a movie without sound, and shows this and kind of reveals to the extended community partnership of docs and families that there is a high prevalence of Huntington's disease around the villages of Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela. And if you think, now these are rough numbers, if you think about Europe and North America, we might think that HD is roughly 1 per 10,000. In those villages, you can think of it being 1 in 10. So it's not like you're taking, so he brings this report in the film. There's his report, and on the report, it's got family trees that look like this, which in one instant, you'll see how prevalent it is, and there's just a family tree that was in the report. And that's what the village looked like. Barranquitas. This now, with high technology, is Barranquitas. And along the lake, homes with patients are the red dots. But homes with patients, it's not home with patient, it's plural. It could have 3, 4, correct? 3, 4, 5 affected people in the home. The yellow dots are homes with kids. Not with kid, with kids. So it could be a home with 3, 4, 5 affected people and all those kids. So that's hence the notion of we're not taking care of individuals with HD in that part of the world. We're taking care of entire communities of people. So where was I when all of this stuff where he shows up with the film in my lifetime? I was graduating college. So Nancy Wexler hears about all this and launches the United States-Venezuela Collaborative Research Group. There they are. Some of you may recognize the woman in red who is from Boston. But Nancy goes down from 1981 for 22 years with a team of people, many of whom are still practicing in different parts of the world today. But anyway, where they collect, and those families living in their vulnerability of extreme poverty, which basically means about a meal a day, dirt floors, tin huts, no reliable electricity, so selflessly in their vulnerability, they give their blood, their skin, their semen, their histories, and their brains even. Nancy takes it all back with her team and starts laying out these huge family trees. I just hate the word pedigree, but family trees. That's a close-up because the sample of the pedigree was actually, oh, and by the way, I want to point out, I forgot this. How old was she when she first went there? 34. So when young people change the world, eh? 34, but that's what the picture really looks like. It spread down the whole alleyway and around the corner. That's how it is. In fact, she later wrote, the Venezuelan kindred families represent the largest and best characterized HD population in the world, 18,000 individuals, 10 generations. So, those scientists that went down with Nancy Wexler and those families, they were the first partners, really, in human genetic research. Now, there are some exceptions, but that's pretty much true. And they are partners. If I leave you with one thing today, it's the partnership is the most important thing. And I'll tell you why later. But that's where it began. They were partners. This is not only a milestone in Huntington's disease history, that them going down to Venezuela and those families with them in partnership, it's a milestone in neuroscience. All neuroscience. It's a milestone in medicine. And for that, I'm glad it was Huntington's disease. I have gratitude that that is the case, that we have that as a community. One more story. This guy's name is Dr. Michael Keneally. I don't think anybody called him Michael. He was Mike to everybody. So Keneally was born in Ireland, Galway, where in 1954 he got a degree in agriculture. Why agriculture? Because in agriculture in those days, in local universities, that's where genetics was. He learned how to raise cattle, cows, and plants. So he taught Irish farmers. Then he joined family in the USA, immigrated to the USA, and he got 2 degrees in medical genetics. Now he's dealing with human genetics. And he was at a conference, just a regular old HD family conference in 1973, where he encounters this woman, Marjorie Jensen. And she goes up from Orient to Iowa in the United States. And her mom had HD, and she had 3 at-risk kids. She didn't know her gene status. And she says to Keneally, what's all this Venezuela stuff? Why aren't you doing it in the United States? And he says, because I can't get a family large enough and willing to help. So Marjorie Jensen says, how many do you need? And by the way, as I tell you this, I'm not just polishing it off to make it a good story to tell. This is exactly how it has been reported by them, okay? So, how many do you need? Oh, he thinks, about 15. And she says, 15? I'll get you 50. So, about 2 or 3 months later, Keneally and his group come up from Indiana, and she gathers the whole in a college gymnasium, and the team takes blood, skin, urine samples from over 100 family members of the Jensen family. So it was, how many do you need? 15. I'll get you 50. And she delivers 100. It's amazing. So began HD genetic things in the United States, which is tied to the spread across the world. So, Marjorie Jensen, family. Mike Keneally, scientist. Together, partners. And I've added the word propel. I didn't know you were sitting there, man. Partners, family partners, propel research. And at key points in the history of this, families have really played an incredible role, like this one other guy. This guy's name is Dennis Shea. Dennis Shea was from Brooklyn, New York. He made his first $1 million in collecting postage stamps, but went on to be a Wall Street broker, and his family was touched by Huntington's disease. His wife had HD, and he had this wonderful family. That's actually his mom on the right, not his wife, and 2 kids. So Dennis takes his money and retires young. The sad end of the story is he died young of cancer, but he created the foundation for the care and cure of Huntington's disease. Now, I want to also point out the word care, because most foundations are science. Dennis did both. Anyway, among his wealth, he had a nice estate in the Florida Keys. Now, if you don't know the Florida Keys from whatever part of the world you're in, if you do know Jimmy Buffett, it's that kind of thing. But this palm trees way down the end of Florida, man, sport fishing, that's Dennis, was something he caught off his boat in his palatial Florida estate. Anyway, at the time, all these teams of people around the world were looking for the gene. And he thinks, I'll take them all to Isla Mirada, to my Florida home, once a year, every year, all of them. And maybe, if I can get them to drink rum drinks with paper umbrellas on the beach and let them talk science, maybe they will collaborate and not compete. And we can expedite this damn thing finding the gene. So, that was his idea. So he starts bringing them down, and sure enough, this is from one of the scientists that went. Dennis created such an aura of good feeling that barriers came down, tensions erased, data appeared, and friendships were made. Gorged on sumptuous food, we planned experiments in the jacuzzi. So that's the group of people. And that's why there's palm trees. They are not in Venezuela. They're at Dennis's estate. But you can see there's Nancy Wexler on the left. The guy in the blue shirt and the belly like mine is Mike Keneally. The woman in the white shirt is Marcy McDonald. And there's other big names, but but I'll go off on a tangent. So that's it. Where was I in 1983? I was a nursing home administrator. And then one day, a colleague calls and says, are you standing by your, and I know some of you don't know what they are, fax machine. Are you standing by your fax? No, but I can be. Yeah, go over there. And this thing comes across. Press release from Mass General Hospital. I need water, I can't use it. My mouth is dry. And it says, researchers in an extraordinary international collaborative effort have discovered the long-sought gene for Huntington's disease. And it was incredible. I'm emotional telling you, man. But it just came about. And sure enough, the next day, on the top above the fold of the New York Times, there it is. Team pinpoint genetic cause of Huntington's disease. Again, I was a nursing home administrator. This was not long ago. And here's the first paragraph. After 10 back-breaking years in a research purgatory of false leads, failed experiments, and long stretches of mordant despair, an international team of scientists says it has discovered the most coveted treasure in molecular biology, the gene behind Huntington's disease. It was incredible to be there. The finding will be reported Friday in the journal Cell, which, here it is, if you're ever interested in looking at it. I'll leave it on the table up here. And its author will be the Huntington's Disease Collaborative Research Group. This reflects a rare instance of sustained scientific cooperation in which 6 laboratories in the US, England, and Wales shared their data and ideas. That's the thing. So that's how it was reported. Now, those of you from academia know how important the author thing is, the attribution. Careers are built on it. Income comes from that. Careers are kind of pushed aside by it. It's huge. The fact that you could get 6 people on 6 teams. And by the way, there were other teams, but they did not partake of it. They're not going to be in this like peace, love stuff, man. No. But it happened. They did it. There's the attribution. No single authors. There's Dennis, whose idea it was to compete or collaborate. We'll get him to compete. I'm sorry, to collaborate, and there it is. And here's another reminiscence after Dennis died from one of the people that went down there. It was at Dennis's home that the decision was made to publish as the Honey Disease Collaboration Research. It was something he achieved. There he is with Nancy Wexler. This picture I added because, to make the point, this is all recent, like it's in my lifetime, man. After the gene find, the mass chapter of the Huntington Association, there were 2 teams, one at MIT and one at Harvard Medical School in Boston. The mass chapter of HDSA, our national group, we had a reception. And it was like a wedding in the U.S., kind of, you know. The family greets all the guests and everything. So that was that. But, so in the picture, Marcia McDonald is the second woman in the second row. Walter Koreschetz, who is a big in American National Institute of Health. Rick Myers. But anyway, the guy in the center is a guy named David Hausman, who invented the technology to find genes hugely. And the woman in front of him is his now deceased 90-year-old mother, who was so proud of him that day. It was amazing. But anyway, this happened again in my lifetime. In fact, see those shirts that they're wearing back there? It says, "Look what we found." And Christina has the shirt. I still have the shirt. Will you show them the shirt? Look what we found. So I still got the T-shirt. Thank you. I still got the T-shirt. Okay. So where were you, some of you, in 1993 during the G find? Katrin, where were you? There she is. Asuncion's not with us. I know some of you know her from Madrid. There's Asuncion. She just had a baby. And Michaela, are you here in the house? There's Michaela on her Suzuki 1993. And Selena. Oh, that's right. She left. There's Selena. And Christina was a bride. And who else we got? This guy, 5-year-old guy. So in 1993, there was this 5-year-old kid, and it's weird, because later on, I kept seeing him at meetings, and he'd usually be in the back of the room on a laptop, not saying much, just taking it all in. And that's him. So, is Matt here? Any chance? Where? There he is. So, that was 2011. So, Matt, later wrote, "I've decided that despite having a bad knee and being relatively unfit, I will attempt to run 15 marathons in 2011. There he is. But the key thing that I want to show you is this. This sounds like him. Stupid, yes, but the cause is so great that I feel compelled to do something about it. All of the money raised from my marathon exploits will help to fund the creation of HDYO. Amazing. So, family. So he's family. Again, another family. Now, here's what I like. So he sends me this picture. Thank you, by the way. And he's got this shirt on as a 5-year-old kid. And what does that say? I don't know if you can read it. Worldwide. Which is hilarious because today there's 30 countries worth of us here. And all continents. Anyway, so it's just amazing. I love that. There he is. So again, that's where you all were in 1993. You know where I was. But there was also this little guy who was born. He was a 2-year-old at the time. I don't know where he is. From Barranquitas, Venezuela. Do you know if Jesus is here? No? Jesus? Where is he? Ah! So, Jesus, you want to come down here or stay there? It's up to you. Come so they can see you. We can't see you in the back. And Angel is there too. You want to come up? But I just want to point out, because I've told the story. Come up here, Matt. Because I've told the story. Jesus is a teacher in Barranquitas. His family has participated in that research, both sides, correct? Yep. Right. So anyway, because of Factor H, because of HDYO, you're here. We are grateful to everybody. But from all of us, given the history that I just told, thank you to you on behalf of all your family. And Angel is, I don't know if he's back there, same to him. So we are all one big family. He just happens to represent the first family in the first partnership. But we're all one with the same. So as the first family, if you will, on behalf of everybody, same thing. See you later, man. That's him. And by the way, Jesus is a teacher. He's a teacher in Barranquitas. So, just 3 years after that, the gene discovery, we get mouse models for research. 3 years. At this point, I must, as an American citizen, say, mouse models, transgenic mice, I have a memo to the President of the United States. And that is, it's transgenic mice. It is not make mice transgender. What the hell is wrong with him? So, I couldn't resist that, I'm sorry. So, as your tour guide through history quickly, I just want to say families and physicians have been partnered from the beginning, going all the way back to the Huntingtons, and then Marjorie Guthrie, and everybody to Ellison. Families drive the research, families drive everything, and they are full partners in this. And at key points, they are partner scientists. The intersection has been driven by family. Whether it's Dennis Shea's strategy or Dorothy Jensen saying, you want 15, I'll give you 50 and deliver 100. So that's one of the things we're grateful for, is the partnership. And it happened rapidly. Now, this notion of things happening rapidly, I know they can't happen fast enough. We stipulate that. We know that. It is self-evident. But the two things coexist. The fact that a watch pot never boils, but still, if you look at it, this is moving really, really fast. So, That's what I want to talk about for Huntington's, our story. I want to just talk about humanity. Your human, because it's kind of a nebulous humanity, thing. But I want to make it real for us. So it's your humanity, ours. It's what bonds us. It's what brings the energy to this room in extraordinary ways. And if you love being here right now, that's what I'm talking about. The extraordinary bonds. So humanity you can think of as being, have you ever found yourself saying, or have you ever felt, inhale, I'm only human. That's humanity. Or have you ever told your story? I asked you that before. Yes. Or on videos. There's all kinds of videos you guys have told your stories on. Or on a blog, Hannah. Or, I'm sorry, in a story in a book. Or Ashley in a blog. Or have you ever had a conversation about HD, not only with the people in this room, but with other people in your lives, in a bar, in a meeting like this, that's last year, in your own kitchen, in your own living room, in your own bedroom, pillow talk? Or if you live in a place where you only have one room, it's all the same. What you're talking about is humanity, is your humanity. Have you ever felt stuff about, and this is the list of topics you all discussed already here today, in the last 2 days. Grief, loss, anxiety, apprehension, shame, worry. But also joy, excitement, love, fun, and happiness. And I want to, in gratitude, but I also want to say, underline us being here right now for this moment, for 3 days that are full of thrill, fun, love, not just in the hotel, but when the hell you went out at 4 a.m. last night, whatever it was. That's our humanity. That's what we're talking about. It's not a nebulous thing. And again, one more time, don't forget about the happiness. HD can't take your happiness away, whether it's momentary or state of long, whatever. It's there. The narrative we hear, because we're stigmatized, you all are stigmatized, the narrative you hear is one that doesn't have happiness. That's inaccurate. Okay, so Huntington's has such a unique way of revealing our humanity. And really, it's amazing. It unites us as one in the bonds that you share at this meeting, which are so deep. And our partner, it bonds us with those scientists, making them partners in our cause. And the depths of our humanity bonded by HD are incredible. And just a couple of examples that are a little different. Like, so deeply that it can connect across or in the face of natural disasters. So last year, I think, when parts of Turkey were devastated by an earthquake, the bond of family, being HD family, takes this woman from HD family on the westernmost part of Europe, in Portugal, all the way to Turkey to spend a couple of weeks with an HD family in Turkey. Transcends natural disasters. And going that distance across continent, it also has to transcend traditions and cultures, all kinds of stigma that come with them, and religions. But it does so deeply, it transcends borders too. And we know this because there's 30 countries here represented, self-evident. But also it even does it, I want to underline, in wartime. So this woman who's using that wheelchair, behind her is her 10-year-old daughter, and the shortest person in the picture standing is her mom. And when Russia invades Ukraine, a doctor partner calls the Polish Huntington Association and says, can you help this family? They're fleeing right now on a train, and that was arranged. That's at the border with Ukraine and Poland. where she was greeted by a rehab hospital that put her up free for 2 years. No bill, engineered by the association. Amazing. But even in wartime, Ukraine HD families have connected. Now, they don't have a face-to-face association, but they got a website, they have regular meetings, so they have a virtual association. And it just always strikes me that even with all that's going on in their country in a war, the HD connection transcends all of that. And for that, the depth of our humanity is bonded by this. And I don't have skin in the game, man. I'm not family myself, but I'm part of it, and it's so deep, it's amazing. So deeply that it also transcends time. Gratitude transcends time, where we look at Angel and Jesus, there he is, and look back and still feel connected to people back then because they're our first partners. So that's about my trip through history. For Huntington's, that's humanity. The Huntington's history teaches us. Our stories teach us where we started out. Our humanity bonds us so deeply. Now, I just want to say a few words about hope. Now, I'm not telling you to hope. Everybody's hope is personal. Make up your own damn mind, you know. But I want you to consider a couple of things. So you all, not me, you all as HDYO, as young leaders in your country, if you so choose. If you choose not to be, that's okay too. We're just glad you're part of the group. Who knows where your future will take you? That we are organized and we're partnered together with our partners, and that everything counts. That's what I want to talk about. So first of all, the first thing I want to say about Consider with Hope is something that I didn't see. And I've been around this since, a long time. And I just didn't see this coming. And it was right in front of me. And I learned it from this woman whose name is Karen. Karen's got her fans, and I'm one of them, man. But I first noticed it in her. And it's like, it was right in front of my eyes. Karen, as she pointed out, I'm not alone. There are so many of you who are facing this. You are doing an incredible job. You really are, and it's right there. And I know this, that if we point this out to you, you probably say something like, I'm doing my best. Or, yeah, but I have my difficult times. Or, yeah, but, and then you tell me some horrible thing that you feel. Whatever. But I'm here to tell you, in spite of that, you're doing a fine job. It's amazing. You're doing a fine job. And I'm serious about this, because I just flew 6,200 kilometers to tell you you are doing a fine job. Period. Don't forget that. So, another thing I want to consider you. Remember when Marjorie met Dr. Barbeau and Whittier, and he told them, they said, go find families? Well, you're still finding families. Still today. Like this guy. That's him in 1993. This guy in 1993 went on to found the Costa Rica Association. Whereas that's Juan Carlos right there. And in 1993, this little girl was born and learned to walk, stood up, and what she's done as a woman is That's Casey, Khadija, who takes the honey society of Pakistan and refounds it. Oh, are you there? They can't see you, man. Just right. Brilliant. And it had been around, but she refounds it, breathes life in it, reinvigorates it. And it's an important lesson because associations around, people give what they can, da-da-da-da. It is not, it's a relay race. And the torch gets passed to the next thing, and we all celebrate in the end. So that happens. So Casey did that. And then this guy who's sitting right here, this is, he breathes life into the Slovakian HD Association. And that's Blotto in 1993. But anyway, so he invigorates that one. And then a year later, he's meeting the president of Slovakia. It's like, I don't know if he signed on for that. But like Casey and Vlado, if they make that decision, if nobody else wants to do it, or nobody's doing it, on some moral thing, it's like it falls to me, and they just do it. Or Juan Carlos starting from scratch. And then the association, another one I want to say, of working together. He also, as the Slovakia thing, this is really why I'm showing this, he helps connect those Ukraine families in wartime to meet and have their association. So it's one association helping another one. Anyway, that's it. And you'll notice they took the amaryllis. So that's it. So you are already, you're still finding families collectively. And lest we forget, HDYO is finding families. That's what it is. Young families, that's what it is. So when I say you all find the families, there's an expression I don't want to use, but like, okay, Sherlock, it's right in front of you. Okay, so they also told Marjorie in the beginning, partner for research. Well, you're partnered for research. You're bringing it a whole new level. You have patient engagement and all this other stuff that's gone on here, and it's amazing. And I think often back to the original person who had a little moment, thought, saying, what if we could get everybody whose life is touched by Huntington's disease in the world in one big study? Like, get everybody to say, I'm in, like, everywhere we can, man. That would be, like, amazing, wouldn't it? And that is unlike, I don't know why there it is, Marjorie's Rolodexes, full of names and addresses and what information they had, because now it is enroll. And enroll, whether it's the 30,000+ people over time or the 20, whatever it is now, what does 20,000 people look like? It looks like this. There's O2 in London. There's Madison Square Garden, New York. There's Sydney Superdome. And there's the Coliseum in Bogota. We take it for granted, I believe, how significant enroll is. Because you're the enrollees. You and the staff of the protocols. And if you look at the big picture, no other community has this. 20,000 people saying, I'm in, showing up annually, whatever. I don't want to get into the details. I want the big view. It's huge. And we get lost in the details, but the bottom line is 20,000 people who are ready, who've been tracked and followed and are ready. That is an enormous, enormous, enormous opportunity and gift that we can't take for granted. But I know the details. It's like the dating game. We go to the details. But if you look at it from 30,000 feet up, it is incredible that we have all these people, you, saying, I'm in, ready to go, da-da-da-da. I always like to describe enroll, like when Selena was doing the I'm here for everybody thing. Being in enroll is like crowd surfing. It's like jumping into the pool of 20,000 other people all at the same time, just saying, I'm in, let's go, we're ready to rock and roll. And that includes everybody. Even if, right? So Enroll HD, there's the current numbers, but the big other numbers are bigger. Don't take it for granted. I know you don't because you're in it. But don't take for granted its significance in our community. It's huge. Memo to pharma. Pay attention to it, by the way. Okay, so you already also have your partners. Who are your partners? You want to go out back and have a cigarette at this point, it might be a good time. Keep going. Some of us remember when there were none. Some of us remember when there were conference bags that didn't have pharma logos on them because there were no pharma companies in it involved. That was in the last 1/3 of my life. It's amazing. This is all new. So you're partnered and you're organized, and all of those things that you've done in that partnership, everything counts. Right, Katrin? She mentioned this to me a couple of weeks ago. I said, everything counts. Every single blood sample, family history, serial 7s. Did you count backwards from 100 by 7? No. Some people won't do everything for research. Every serial 7, every palm up and down, every spinal tap, every MRI, every brain donated, every single observation, and the 61 million data points on Enroll. And 61 million is outdated by 4 years, I think. That was anniversary data. So it's amazing. But they all count because science grows. It accumulates. Science grows by accumulating. It multiplies. It does not add and subtract. And I'm always, when you think of all those million things, I think back to this guy, who's Robert Pacifici, who's the CHDI Chief Scientific Officer, who once wrote, there's nothing more precious, and that's why I show this. Precious is the best word. There's nothing more precious and valuable to a drug hunter than an observation that's actually made in the population they seek to treat. But every one of those data points is a precious, precious bit of information. So you may not be able to participate. It's not like, you have to do this, and maybe you can't because of your age, your gene status, where you are in the world, what's available wherever you are. But you can always stay updated, like you follow your football teams. Aggressively follow it. You can also always play the dating game and get an observational study and registries and surveys, or simply helping out one another, as you always do, because it all counts. Everything counts. And these gifts are of DNA, and that adds a whole other precious thing. But these gifts of your DNA, your data, your participation, all of this stuff, they keep on giving. Again, it's cumulative, and now as it accumulates and it grows, and we do it with our partners, we get GWAS. GWAS has changed it dramatically. It's a quantum leap in this notion of the gift that keeps on giving. With GWAS, it keeps on giving on steroids. And it is already, and that stands for, because I don't want to get into science detail, I'm not one of the scientists, genome-wide association studies. But they've already given us new discoveries, and they've brought us the era of genetic modifiers and somatic instability and things, and being able to speed up, slow down, expansion, and things you'll hear more and more about. You already are. DNA, excuse me. Can I have another drink of water? repair pathways, mismatch repair, new words, new technologies, all that come off of this stuff, giving us new targets. That's why I put a new goal there. New things to shoot at. And again, I'm not giving a science talk here, but new targets that are not what we've grown accustomed to with the current crop of clinical trials of hunting and lowering of gene editing with them. But now we've got a whole other set based on GWAS and what we can learn from that. GWAS pointed these things to us. Our data, your data, pointed the way when it was aggregated in the tens of thousands. So as you look for hope, just consider that. And I don't want to get into it, but anyway. It's really weird to me as an observer that this whole notion of modifier genes and somatic expansion seem to mirror to me some of the things young people have been saying for a long time now, lately, that they want to define the disease earlier, do it earlier, they want to treat earlier, someday hopefully prevent it, and all of these things appear now to be much more on the table as we think of this stuff that GWAS has brought us. So, and one more thing I want to put in. The tools are improving too. It's incredible. So this is a genome sequencer, and that's on the countertop model. You probably know this stuff, man. But all I'm telling you is, because I don't know what the hell that is, how it works, but it had the countertop model, and now we have the portable model, where you take one drop of a solution with a cell in it, plug it into the laptop, and wait a couple hours, and you've got the entire genome sequenced. That's like amazing. Star Wars-y stuff. So that's there. 2 tips about this I want to say as I hurry up here. The first is, that's Aesop. I don't know how you say it in whatever language, but the guy who wrote the fables, you know? So the one I'm thinking of is the tortoise and the hare. So our community only has so much bandwidth to follow stuff and everything. And the fierce urgency of now, like do it now, the fierce urgency of now is clinical trials. It compels our attention. But that's the hare, the rabbit. But at the same time, that turtle is there, and the turtle is the basic science, and it's just creeping along, man, creeping along. And there's hope to be had there, clearly. Whether you want, it's your call. But there's a lot of hope right in there. But you don't see it because we pay attention to this, as we should. So the hare now ran the swiftest, but he couldn't overtake the tortoise. Just remember that. Second thing I want to say, watch the tortoise, is this. That this big thing we're on, together with science, while we live with Huntington's disease, it is not a finely choreographed ballet. Think back to all the failures and stops and pauses and all of this. It's not a finely choreographed ballet. It's a feckin' hockey game. There's setbacks. Keep your stick on the ice. Keep your head up. You're going to get punched, pushed, and set back. And so adjust accordingly for expectations. Okay, so most importantly, for evidence, you might want to consider is you've got each other, big time. Being here this weekend, I had to put that there. It's like, of course. So you got this big thing. The last words for me as I wind up here go to Michael J. Fox. An incredible human being, as I'm sure you all, if you know him, who actually was really down. I can't remember the details. Some of you might know. I think he had broken his leg or his ankle, and he was laid up, and he was getting really skeptical about himself, saying, maybe I'm too optimistic. Maybe I'm misleading people by being positive. And then he wrote, one day he was grateful for something and said, with gratitude, optimism is sustainable. If you find something to be grateful for, then you can find something to look forward to, and you can carry on. I think that's that simple, what I'm saying. So I'm grateful, and I hope this community is for all this stuff that we've got, all this stuff that we've done and that we've achieved, and how bonded we are so deeply by it, and all these things to consider as you're looking for hope. I'm not telling you what to do. I do think you are empowered with gratitude, through gratitude. Now, I'm 73 years old. Everything has happened in my lifetime, like I said, even watching a crick. But it's actually happened in the second half of my lifetime. It's that recent. Again, we're so close to it. A watch pot never boils. It's moving at lightning speed. So not just in my lifetime, in your lifetimes. The quest for cure is, no matter how it appears, advancing rapidly, but not fast enough, but it's advancing rapidly nonetheless. The time in front of us, no. The time in front of you is a unique opportunity to stay involved and stick together because all contributions count. So, you're still in the mission, and don't ever give up finding families. The damn thing about huntington's disease is there's always going to be new families. So you're always going to make the effort to find them. And partner with scientists. We say that's the foundation because it is the foundation. For wherever we find ourselves today scientifically, it's been built on that partnership. And all the stuff we're talking about today is, or in the last couple of days, essentially the science end on that partnership. And I guarantee you, whatever good things are going to come are absolutely going to be built on the foundation of that partnership. You can take that to the bank. So that's why you need to stick together and do what you can here and now. It's a long road. I know people face their individual ups and downs and struggles. Things are scary. Things are lonely. When you go home and have post-conference letdown, you're going to face that too. But as tough as they get, as challenging they get, I just want you to know that I think you got this. And in closing, if anybody's cynical about this, me trying to be upbeat and see perspective and be grateful, if you're cynical and think I'm trying to sell you hearts and flowers and cards, I want you to just remember a couple of things. Two things. Number one, I want you to remember Dennis Shea. If anybody thought that they could get 6 academic research teams to agree to selflessly give up and cooperate and put it all on the table in the name of one, nobody would believe it, especially the cynics. But they did. He did. They did. We did. It's amazing. So I kind of like, when people are cynical, I get like a kind of pirate smile and think of that. Like, okay. And we're going to face that as we get drugs. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. Access. Just remember, if people are cynical, we've done some other stuff. The other one is, you look at, the other one to keep in mind for cynics is, one scientist in Milan, Elena Catania, a family member in the UK, Charles Sabine, and agencies in Venezuela, and get it, those families, Jesus families, to meet the Pope. Amazing. What's up with that? So don't give me any barriers. Don't think, oh no, they'll never get beyond barriers. There'll be this roadblock and that roadblock. They met the Pope. And if you're really cynical, you can always ask Lauren for her selfie with the Pope. So don't mess with it. So as a community, it's like, don't pull that cynical crap on us. Bring it on. Bring it on. So I just want to thank you all and close by saying we want to end it like we did last year, like you all did in Glasgow, with the H-hand sign. H-hand sign is basically regular standard hard hands, and you can extend your index finger. And it makes, hopefully, an H, and that stands for Huntington's, hope, humanity, and hope. It's the values of Factor H, the charity that works with Jesus' family in in Venezuela. So if we need somebody with a camera, yeah. And I just want to point out that, so that was last year. So there it is. There it is. And this was designed by this woman, Sophia Sina, who was 20 years old at the time. So next Sunday is Gratitude Day. We don't have time to go into that, but that's it. So that's the background for your photos, so you'll know where the hell we were. And all set, everybody? Okay. One more thing. One more thing. George. Remember George? What if we could bring him back 150 years later? What might he say? He might say, what the hell is a CAG? Or he might say, it really sucks. Don't name it after me. That's it. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you. Thank you.